Make sure you take care of your below-the-waist grooming. Our partners at Manscaped are here to save your boys from taking on a double team of nagging defenders. So you stay clean and take care of yourself where it matters most. Manscaped is here to sink the competition and deliver the best tools for your below-the-waist grooming experience. And that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved The Lawnmower 3.0 trimmer. The Lawnmower 3.0 is simply the best hygiene tool for the modern man. And because of their ceramic blade and skin-safe technology, your snags are going to be reduced. Their Perfect Package 3.0 comes with the new and improved Lawnmower, waterproof, cordless body trimmer, performance boxer briefs, and a travel bag for you to use when you're done quarantining. The Perfect Package 3.0 also comes with the Crop Preserver and Crop Reviver. The Crop Preserver is an anti-chafing ball deodorant which ensures that your afternoon stroll doesn't end with your balls getting caught to your leg. The Crop Reviver is a spray-on toner for your balls. It's made with soothing aloe and witch hazel extracts that will give your balls a boost. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code Hummel, Hummel, at manscaped.com. It's a whole new balls game. Take advantage of this limited time offer for Manscaped's all-star lineup and try it for yourself. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Hummel, Hummel, at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use code Hummel, Hummel. When things get hairy in the fourth quarter, make sure to call on Manscaped in clutch time.
All right, welcome into another episode of the Goodman and Hummel podcast. And Rob, I'm wearing the hat just for, I don't know. My
bandwagon.
Football team, basketball team. I mean, it's been a pretty
You are the ultimate bandwagon fan.
I am
the ultimate bandwagon fan. I can't even believe that you're going to try to pull this off and be like, and think that we're not going to call you on this shit.
I know. Well, as well you should, but we'll talk about the Crimson Tide here in a little bit. First, listen, anybody, make sure you subscribe. Goodman and Hummel podcast every single week. We've got a great show for you today. We've got none other than UConn head coach Danny Hurley coming up later in the show. And if you haven't listened to me and Danny Hurley, it's always pretty entertaining. And I'm sure it will be that way again. He's sarcastic. He's negative. We'll get him to maybe tell a story about his wife, Andrea, who made she made her debut on my pod a few months ago, and she roasted him. I mean, just absolutely roasted Danny Hurley. So hopefully he'll fight back a little bit. But listen, Rob, I think we got to start out, and I kind of did it in the last pod. I think I admitted that I've screwed up a little bit on Michigan, but I'm ready to come clean completely. Like, I'm ready to fall on the sword and say I completely effed up. And I love Juwan Howard. I really do. Like, I'm happy I was wrong about not only this Michigan team, but also the Juwan Howard hire, because I lump all these former NBA guys with $100+ million in the bank together when they come to college. And I'm like, they don't really succeed. I mean, they don't. Like, how many of them we've seen? Chris Mullen, now Patrick Ewing, Damon Stoudemire's done a nice job at Pacific.
Penny down in Memphis.
I mean, most of them do not succeed. Juwan Howard has done a hell of a job. This team is undefeated now. They have absolutely pummeled their last three opponents. And the last two were like, okay, Northwestern, Minnesota at home. You know, when Minnesota's on the road, they kind of stink. So you kind of throw that one out. But now, beating the hell out of Wisconsin, what does this say? To me, I'm going to have them at number 3 in the country right now, and I think they've earned it.
I think they totally deserve that. I think you have to give Juwan Howard a ton of credit. And you said it, like, first of all, that dude is just a super nice person. And, like, it's pretty cool because he's played, like, every role. He's been the 13th man on an NBA team. He's been an NBA All-Star. He's been an All-American. He's been a McDonald's All-American. He's coached. Like, there is nothing that when you go to play for this dude where he's ever going to be like, I don't understand where you're coming from. He literally understands every part of where you could be coming from. So I think that's really cool. And I think that you have to give him a ton of credit for one, assembling a staff that's going to allow him to be successful. And I think the Phil Martelli hire is huge. Saudi Washington's a great assistant coach. Howard
Well,
Isley.
different. They're different.
They
Howard
are.
Isley
They all
coaching
bring
the
very
NBA.
different things.
Yeah.
Totally. But he has gelled this team together. I mean, there was serious question marks. Like I said at the start of the year, I thought Michigan could be anywhere from like 5th to 12th because there was huge question marks. And I don't think that was unfair. You know, you lose Xavier Simpson, you lose John Teskey. Simpson was the big question mark.
Sure.
The biggest question mark. So the job that Mike Smith has done, I thought he was going to come in and chuck. I mean, this is a guy that used, like, when he was on the floor, like 40% of their possessions at Columbia. I mean, he had to. They were horrible.
Right.
So he was just a volume shooter, volume scorer. And now he's like, he can score, he can facilitate, he tries to defend. And with the length that they have, like, you have 3 guys in Franz Wagner, Isaiah Livers, Sean D. Brown, who are all 6'8", super long, athletic, get in the passing lane. I mean, Isaiah Livers tonight was beating shit up everywhere.
He was awesome.
Oh, he might be their third option, like on some nights.
Yep.
Because Franz can get it. Hunter, and we haven't even talked about Hunter Dickinson. Like,
he didn't even play well tonight.
They
beat him by 100.
I know. He didn't even play great. So they just – Shawnee Brown was a big addition. But, man, you have to give Juwan Howard a ton of credit because he's gotten these dudes to buy in. And I didn't even mention Eli Brooks. Eli Brooks is an elite defender on the basketball.
Yep.
So you've got offense, you've got defense. I really like their team. So I was certainly wrong about them, and they had some questions, so I can't totally blame myself for that. But man, they are good. And Wisconsin, like, I think when you look at these two teams, Jeff, and this might not be a super popular take by maybe you might not like this, but when I'm looking at those starting fives, Dimitri Trice is probably the only dude. Dimitri Trice is probably the only one that I would say I might take him over Mike Smith. And I guess Eli Brooks and Brad Davison, you're kind of
close.
You're kind of close on that. But they're different, you know. Michigan's just better. Way better. And Wisconsin's a good team, and they're going to win games in the league because they always do, and they're well coached. They play their style. But, man, that was the varsity against the JV tonight, and Michigan looked like the varsity.
I think the other thing is we forget this Michigan team is older, right? I mean, you added a couple –
older but inexperienced together.
Correct.
Right.
Inexperienced together, but you're adding 2 guys in Chandy Brown and Mike Smith that are older dudes with some guys who have been there already, and then you're throwing in Hunter Dickinson, who doesn't play like a freshman, right? Like, that's the big difference. When you bring in a freshman that does not play like a freshman, he's got the IQ of a senior. It's a different ball game. And I think, and you might be able to talk about this more than me, but I think one of the big strengths of Juwan Howard is his personality, number one, and the fact that I do think he gets guys to play hard, to play together. Mm-hmm. Just that he's got almost like a new, like the Brad Stevens, Tony Bennett type of mentality, right? Like, he's not a yeller and screamer too much. And we saw it with Livers earlier in the year. They kind of went at it a little bit, and it was shocking. Yeah, we all were like, whoa, where did that come from, right?
Yeah, seriously. No, I think you're right. And I don't think he feels like he necessarily has to scream at these dudes. He really, you know, it's fun to watch him at, like, shoot-arounds and practices. Dude, he gets out there and, like, plays with their bigs. I mean, how tight is that? Awesome. I was at TAC rehabbing my knee with Tim Grover, and he was in there. And we didn't, like, talk a whole lot, but, like, the first time I met him to do games, he was like, he's engaging about – he was like, man, I remember you at Tim Grover's place. Really? I'm like, dude, he didn't know me from anybody else in that gym. But he makes you feel really, really good when you talk to him. And I think he's a really good people person, and he understands. Like, he's worked under people – and Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley. He's been around LeBron James. Like, he's been around the best winners in the world. And then you throw that on top of his personality from a recruiting standpoint, where he's making these kids feel good. And, hey, you know, I'll get you to the league. And let's be honest, with Beeline and now into Juwan Howard, Michigan's got a great track record of putting dudes in the NBA. So it's really the perfect storm for him. And he's done a really good job. You know, he has done a great job at Michigan.
Can I give you it's not a hot take, but I'll say this. When Isaiah Todd decided not to go to Michigan and go to the G League, it was the best thing. I said this at the time. It was the best thing for Michigan and the worst thing for Isaiah Todd.
Yeah.
Because, man, would Isaiah Todd have gotten better learning from Juwan Howard.
Sure.
But I felt like if he went to Michigan, Hunter Dickinson's going to beat him out, right? And how is Isaiah Todd going to be if he doesn't play major minutes, and how is his family going to be and all that? So chemistry is pretty good on this team because they've all got pretty clear roles already.
Totally.
To some degree. Now they all rotate in terms of sometimes being the guy on a given night.
But I think they're okay with that. Yeah. And you know what? When you're winning, it is okay. When you're on a team that's ranked high and you get along, guys don't care. Because as long as you win and the team is playing well, the accolades come along with that. I firmly believe that.
Yeah, no, I would agree. I think this Michigan team, again, has put itself right now maybe in front of Iowa. Maybe I think
that's totally fair.
I mean, they're different.
I think that the defensive end separates them. Agreed. I really worry about Iowa defensively still. Yep. They just at times it's kind of Ole. It's like Matador defense. And Michigan, think about how they competed on the defensive end tonight. Yeah. They blocked a ton of shots. They had 9 blocks.
I was more impressed with what they did on defense, Rob, than what they did. And they were making every shot early.
I know.
They weren't up much. They were up.
You hold Wisconsin to 30% from the field and 32 from 3, and the effort they defend with, the length they bring, they're a problem. I really think you can put them in that discussion with Iowa, Gonzaga, Baylor, in like that kind of top tier of teams.
One team that we cannot put in that discussion, Rob, the Kentucky Wildcats. They reverted. They reverted back to kind of what they had been, right? I mean, early in the season, they're 1-6. They're losing games they shouldn't be losing. Georgia Tech, Notre Dame. I mean, just losing bad losses. And then they started to get it going, right? Yeah. I mean, they beat Mississippi State in Starkville. They beat Vandy. They beat Florida. Like, that was a big one in Gainesville. Yeah. And we're all thinking, hey, you know what? They got some momentum here. They're looking good. Everybody, Devin Askew's looking better. Everybody's kind of – maybe Cal's got them going in the right direction again. And play at home against Alabama, and they get smacked.
Who didn't have any of their best players by the second half. I mean, they had. Petty's still there, Shackelford's there, but let's be real. Herb Jones leaves, Jordan Bruner leaves, Quinterly doesn't play. I mean, this is a very depleted, and this was a no doubter. At halftime, I was like, "There's no way. There is no way they're going to win." And it's just offensively, no one can shoot. You have Dante Allen, who's a good shooter. I think he's a good story. I don't
know if he, again, we got so excited on that one game, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a
good complimentary piece, but he's not the season-defining piece for them. At the end of the day, Brandon Boston still can't shoot. And Olivier Sarr is still Sarr takes 4 shots tonight. He's a non-factor in the game. I think if I was going to say who played well for Kentucky tonight, Keon Brooks, sort of.
The problem is
Isaiah Jackson did some good things. Jackson got to the line a bunch, and he plays hard. But
I will boil it down for you very easily. Okay, very easily. Their top 2 recruits were Brandon Boston and Terrence Clark, and they've both done virtually nothing.
Yeah.
And they can't have that, right? Their other guys are just good pieces. And Isaiah Jackson was a top recruit, but he's a defensive-minded guy.
He wasn't supposed to come in and just get buckets. He was supposed to come in and compliment the guys that are killing. And those guys aren't doing it, And then Sarr's not getting it done. And, you could tell. And then defensively, we said Ole defense. Kentucky can't guard anybody. They don't keep anybody in front of them.
Not tonight.
They give up 14 threes. And Alabama's looking to get layups and threes. They're playing fast. That's the way they play. But that was highly disappointing. I think that we all thought maybe they are turning the corner, And
now
they're back to the drawing board. That was,
listen, how much now if I'm putting a percentage on Kentucky getting into the NCAA tournament for you right now. What is that percentage at?
I'm going to go 15.
Yeah, that's probably about right. I mean, they kind of got to run it to some degree.
They would have to just ball. Yeah, they would have to kill.
And I just don't see that happening.
I don't, and like their future opponents. I mean, the SEC.
Not a lot.
I wouldn't say you're just crawling with quality games. You've got some, but you're gonna have to probably run the table.
I mean, you got Tennessee. You just lost to Alabama at home.
Right.
You know, like how many other?
I mean,
Missouri's
not playing great.
I just don't see them being able to do that anyway. I mean, you texted me something. I'm not going to say what the text was about Kentucky. If you want to say it, you can. That's fine. I'm not going to force you, pressure you.
Wow. Well, we might as well just say it now. I mean, if you're going to just put it out there. What did I even say? I don't even remember what I said. Let me read it first. Oh, you want – yeah, I'll say this. You said, is Alabama for real? And I go, I think Kentucky just sucks that bad.
So you're not as bought into Alabama as you are the fact that you think Kentucky just sucks.
Yeah, I just think that they're not that good.
It's amazing, though, that we're talking about this. Because, again, I've made excuses for them. I have. I've said in the summer they didn't have their full summer. I've tried to, give them every opportunity. They're young, all that. It's a tough time, obviously, for such a young team. But you're probably right now. You're probably right. They're just not.
And that doesn't mean they can't be good in a month or two. They could very well figure it out but I think the problem with Kentucky is even if they do that, I'm not sure they'll have the resume to get in anyway.
The only way, the only thing that could be interesting is the SEC tournament, right? Could they run it?
They get on a roll.
That's probably their hope at this point is to play well enough, peak at the right time, hope that maybe Tennessee or Alabama knock each other off somehow in the SEC tournament. And you're only going to get by one of those two.
The cupcake road to a title.
Something. I mean, you're going to – because, again, you look at him and you're like, unless Brandon Boston really gets – I've said he's the key along with Devin Askew. And Askew's actually gotten better. Like, he's not –
yeah, no, he is.
Not great, but he's definitely improved over the last month or so. But the bottom line is you need a guy, a dude who's just going to go get some. And they don't have that. And Brandon Boston and Terrence Clark were supposed to be the guys. And Clark, listen, I really feel like both of them, unless something crazy happens, they should both go back to school for their sophomore years. Will they? I don't know. I mean, again, we've seen.
Couldn't you make the counter argument that if they go back to school and they play the same as they are this year, they'd be you're playing your way out of the NBA. Maybe you should leave before the deficiencies really come to the surface. Yeah.
I just don't see Brandon Boston's stock being any lower than it is today.
Yeah.
I don't. Right.
But if he comes back and does this again, I'm guessing it could get lower because he'd get drafted probably off potential.
He'd get drafted late first round today. Somebody would take him in the 20s.
So he might leave just because of that. Yeah. I mean, it's happened before.
Yeah. You may be right.
There's been many a player at Kentucky who has played really poorly and been like, I got to leave. And it's worked out for some and it hasn't for others.
All right, we'll finish off with a little Roll Tide. All right, little Roll Tide to finish this thing off. And
hail to the champions, as Jeff would say.
That's right. We had a super spreader last night.
Oh, my God. I saw that video.
Yeah, you would have been out there. When you were at Purdue, you would have been out there.
Well, hard to say because,
you had won the national title. Robbie Hummel, if you had won the damn national title at Purdue.
And COVID is raging.
Your ass still would have been out there.
I don't know. I mean,
you might have been. You're thinking about it right now.
Is it football or basketball?
No, basketball. If you had won it at Purdue,
yeah, you'd have to go out.
Right.
It's like that dude for the Dodgers that got COVID and was like, I have to go celebrate.
Yeah, I mean,
what's his name? Justin Turner, or whatever his name is.
And I still say 90 some odd % of those kids that were out there probably already had COVID.
Yeah, that's true.
I
couldn't believe the videos though. I mean, it was insane.
Let's stay on point. We'll stay on point with hoops. Big 24 hours. So you're saying you're not buying Alabama hoops as much as you're selling Kentucky, but Alabama hoops now is 5-0 in SEC play. They've beaten Tennessee at Tennessee. They've beaten Kentucky on the road. They've beaten Florida at Auburn. I mean, they're friggin' rolling. Now, again, the good news I got on Herb Jones was that it was not a wrist injury. Which
Boy, he was upset. He was really upset when that happened.
I think it was his finger. I think, Rob,
could he – dislocated thumb or something? He was kind of messing –
the way when he looked at it, right?
Yeah.
Like he looked at it and he freaked. And I remember – I'm not going to compare it, but I remember when I was playing like backyard football back when I was in college. And I dislocated my finger, and I freaked.
It's a terrifying sight. I've done it too. And you look down, and your finger's going a crazy way, and and it's also stuck. And like, I guess the concern would be if it is dislocated. Hopefully, there's no fracture from that.
Right.
That would be the concern.
Tough-ass kid.
No doubt. He guards and he works. He plays hard.
In the country, Rob.
What's that?
One of my favorite players in the country. He's also like a 4.0 student.
Really? Nice.
Yeah. He's awesome. Like Herb Jones is one of the best. We should try to get him on the podcast.
Yeah. I thought John Petty just competed.
He did.
He's really talented. I mean, he can really play.
Rob, on his best day, if NBA guys get him on his best day, they say, hey, he could be a lottery pick. On his worst day, you're like, he can't even play in the G League. And that's the problem with John Petty. That's the problem. Like, you don't know. Now, he's been better the last year and a half. He's been better, and he competes defensively as well most nights. But if they get that John Petty with Herb Jones healthy, hopefully Jordan Bruner, I don't know. I haven't found out what the deal is with him at the end. It didn't look good. Man, they could be really, really dangerous. Now, again, are they consistent enough? I don't know, but they're dangerous.
I think that the pace they play with, even without Quinterly tonight, I mean, they push tempo, they drive you, they put pressure on you. They're like the analytics dream, like get layups and threes.
All they do.
And I think that they could win the SEC. They really could. With the start they've gotten off to, I wouldn't be surprised. But I just think that I'm more convinced that right now Kentucky is not good. And that is why it was – I mean, think about who they didn't have tonight. Like, it's crazy that Alabama's down those guys and Kentucky looks that bad.
Yeah. And again, listen, Alabama's got – it was like the battle of the reclassified point guards with Devin Askew and Josh Primo. And Primo wasn't great. I mean, he wasn't. He was okay. But
he's all right. He was good enough.
Yeah.
On a night when he didn't have to be.
Didn't make mistakes.
I want to talk about reclassifying. It is shocking to me how many kids now are willing, and this is a weird year, so like take that with a grain of salt, but I would never have ever been like, I'm okay to leave my high school team.
In the middle.
And I would never. I mean, I played with those dudes since I was in 4th grade. Like,
but this year
the goal was to win at state, and this year's different. They get a pass for this year, but it's just amazing to me how many kids are willing to be like, I don't care if I play this last year. I'll go to college. But I guess that thought of I got to get to the NBA.
But Rob, if Duke had offered you coming out of high school and they had said, hey, the only one we'll take you, we need you right now.
I would not have gone. I swear.
Okay.
It meant that much to me to like be an Indiana All-Star and like, play with my boys. Like,
I think it's different in Indiana than it is a lot.
I agree with that.
No.
I mean, you're playing in, like my last high school game, there was 9,000 people at it. Right. It's like, we're playing Etwan Moore and Angel Garcia and all these dudes, and like it's a big deal. It feels like you're in a college atmosphere. So I don't know. I just can't believe that guys are willing to be like, I'm fine with it. And I guess I do need to understand that some of those high school games are like AAU games.
They are.
There's zero people there.
No doubt.
So
all right. Well, let's get to our interview of the week, and it is none other than the guy on a 3-game winning streak, and that is UConn head coach Danny Hurley. All right, now pleased to welcome in the lesser Hurley member, and I'm not even talking about Bobby right now. I'm talking about Andrea. All right, I had Andrea on the pod a few months ago. There's no way you are going to live up to your wife, Andrea Hurley, in her podcast appearance. She was phenomenal.
No, I wouldn't even try. I mean, you did. I don't know how I was lucky enough to meet that woman. Very,
No question.
very, very late one night too, senior year. So yeah.
Do we want to go into that full story or no?
No, we should probably. It was out of season.
Okay.
It wasn't in season. So Coach Blaney won't be pissed. I did not break curfew. It was late in the year.
All right. Let's start out. Can we get the news housekeeping out of the way with Book Night and a cook first? And what's Book Night's status now, Danny? Is he hopefully going to come back for the next game?
Yeah. So he's seeing a specialist today, and like if he is going to miss more time than just the last two games, like I'd imagine it would just be a couple of weeks. Obviously, we've got to be very precautious or very cautious with him, with everything he's got in front of him. And, he's desperate to get back on the court. But, if he misses more time, it'll just be, maybe a couple more games, if at all. And then, a Cook has recovered incredibly well from a devastating injury. But right now, the hard part for us is, in our first year back in the Big East, just as we're getting our legs under us, to try to, marry him back into getting the rust off his game while we're trying desperately to win Big East games, is a tough trick right now. So, but he's incredibly healthy. It's now just about, trying to build his, trying to get him back in the flow.
Coach, what's the impact recruiting wise for you being back in the Big East? And have you seen anything different? I know it's only been a year. It's not like there's been a lot of time, but have you been able to tell a difference recruiting in terms of guys you can recruit?
Yeah, definitely. I think, I think we were doing a good job when we were in the AAC. Our first class was a Cook and Book Night and Jalen Gaffney, who was a top 100 guy. So, we recruited three real guys in that first class, and they didn't, we never told them we were going back to the Big East. But yeah, I mean, this class, the Andre Jackson recruitment, I think it came down to the Big East being the deciding factor. Certainly helped with Sonogo, who's a Jersey kid that, preferred playing at the Garden as opposed to, Wichita or Tulsa. Or playing against St. John's or Seton Hall as a kid that played his high school ball in the metropolitan area. And then the class that we've got coming in this year is a legit class. I think like three guys that have a chance to play in the NBA, in Jordan Hawkins, Russell Diggins, and Samson Johnson. So it's definitely helped.
I always used to love being around Jim Calhoun, because you kind of never knew what you were going to get, Danny. Like he could MF me one day and then just forget it the next day. Kind of like you. I mean, honestly, very similar. Give me your best Calhoun story. You got to have a classic one now. Obviously you haven't been around him as much over the last 10 months as you would have if we weren't in a pandemic, but give me your best Calhoun story.
Yeah. I mean, just for me, just from a personal interaction, standpoint. I mean, I got the job at UConn, and like most situations where you take over for a coach that has been let go, well, you think it's bad, but it's much worse when you look under the hood and you start meeting with the academic people and you start finding out just how, dysfunctional things are. Then you watch the first workout and you're like, whoa, I was ready to call my agent and ask about like the buyout and how much would it cost to go back. So I walked into coach's office, like after like the first academic week, first individual workout. And I went in his office and just started like complaining. And cause his office is right between the men's and the women's sides of the practice facility. So I went in there and, just to kind of cry on his shoulder and tell him everything that was wrong and how hard my job was. And, he laid into me. He started cursing at me, get your bleep together. walk over to that AD's office and tell him what you need. We hired you to get this thing fixed, not to complain. He laid into me, man. And it was just what I needed. It was like, boom, let's go. Come on, man.
Coach, when you got Book Night and you talked about you recruited him to play in the AAC, did you envision him being this type of scorer or this good of a player?
Yeah. So I went back and having been at Rhode Island, saw him play with the New England players when he was younger on the circuit. Maybe on like the 16s in Vegas might have been the first time I saw him, and then he prepped in New England, and I saw him a couple times when he was at McDuffie. So yeah, I fell in love with his talent and just how easy the game comes to him, how effortless he is athletically, and just how quickly he can like kind of add and develop new skills quickly. And he's also like, he's not a punk. He's like competitive, and even though he's not like physically super strong, he's got a competitive toughness about him, and he's got some asshole in him too. So that's good.
You like it when guys have some asshole in them.
Yes, that helps in sports.
Definitely does. It definitely does. All right, we're gonna do a little turn back the clock segment. According to my sources, you once, as a camp counselor, had the campers sing NWA songs. Is this true or false?
Yeah. That must, might have come from young Jimmy Morley. We did, growing up in Jersey City. I was, I listened to a lot of rap growing up, and so yes, that's actually happened.
Hey, Rob. I also made Dan do years ago the Icky Shuffle. He didn't want to do it. It was the same day that I pissed off Coach K. Remember that, Dan?
I do, because it just seemed like a lot of the coaches on that dais that day, Jeff, were very uptight about the upcoming tournament.
I was trying to loosen you guys up. Come on,
a little levity there. It was a very uptight group. Very
awful. You did the Icky Shuffle though. I think somewhere there's video of it. It was not pretty, but you didn't want to do it, but you did it.
No, I did it. The room needed it.
The room definitely needed it.
All right, Coach, the word on the street is that back in '94 at St. Anthony's that you used to be a substitute teacher. I want to know, were you the sub that did you throw the video on and just let the free-for-all go down, or what type of sub were you?
Yeah, so I was actually tasked with with the physical education class, health and first aid, driver's ed, and then sex ed for co-ed educational freshman classes.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it was you really learn how to control a room when you don't know anything, and you're at St. Anthony there. So a lot of when animals attack videos with and just different things like that to try to get through the course.
We heard you weren't the most engaged substitute.
Yeah. We had a lot of phys ed classes turned into billiards tournaments and just pickup games.
Since your wife threw you under the bus in her podcast appearance pretty well. I don't know if you listened to it, but it was like a Dan Hurley roast. Anything you can give us about Andrea to kind of even things out a little bit?
Her knowledge. Just to have been married or engaged with me, and as big a basketball is a bigger part of our lives that basketball is, for her still not to know anything about basketball is incredibly amazing.
Amazing. She admits it.
It's amazing.
Literally, what is the extent of her knowledge, Dan, goes to what in basketball?
Well, she calls three-pointers, three shooters. She doesn't know anything, man. I just walked by her, to the refrigerator and said, I'm ruminating on like how to get a cook back into the fold after, man, right? And I say to her, like, it's tough, like, his first couple minutes last night in a brutal game, like, and she's like, I thought he played great. That was the best I've ever seen him. Like, this woman.
Watching.
What did you say back to her? Did you tell her no, he didn't, or did you just kind of let it ride?
No, I said what I said to you guys. That's why I'm not afraid to say it on here. I said to her, like, I can't believe that you don't know anything about basketball. Married into the Hurley family, like,
amazing. Really is amazing. But I think
amazing.
she wears it like as a badge of honor that she doesn't know anything, and she's not going to.
Yeah,
want to learn.
yeah. No, hey, listen, she did the smart thing. Like she loves the players and like interacts with them and has got a special relationship with them. But like, and she wants to see us win. But like, I think she plays it smart. I don't, she's not up in the stands like yelling at the refs, and asking me about like why I didn't play one possession zone for like the 5th straight game. Like it's like
Kind of nice.
perfect.
Probably kind of nice, right?
Yeah, a guy like me, that would be a disaster of a partnership.
You would have made it this long. There's no way in hell.
No way. No way.
Okay, Rob, the best quote Andrea Hurley ever gave me about Dan was basically when we win, when we lose, he's miserable, and when we win, he's still miserable. It's phenomenal quote.
Yeah, so it sets up for like a beautiful 5 or 6 months of winter season, right?
Coming off the pandemic, right?
Yeah, and everything that's going on in the world. Yeah, I mean, oh man.
Originally, tell me early on in the pandemic, you were out of your mind, right? Like had her wipe down everything, had to keep packages outside for like 7 days before he would allow them to come in the house to be wiped off. When did you kind of get a little bit more lax on all this stuff?
Yeah, I did. Probably into into the summer. I started probably like, once the numbers started going down, but like, I was online ordering proteins, frozen, stockpiling as much, frozen food as I could. I wouldn't let anyone leave the house. I was the only one that could leave because I knew how cautious I would be. So I went out the first time I went out to the food store. I had like, the painter's breathable mask with like goggles and a Scully with a hood. I mean, it was like no skin exposed. It was like a hazmat suit. And then everything would have to stay outside for like 24 hours. I felt bad for them, but the germ, I got a real, like I've gotten better with like kind of my germ issues, but I was freaking out for, good 6 to 8 weeks.
Coach, you coached J.R. Smith in high school. What was that like? Like, we all see him on TV and obviously a huge talent, but like does some stuff where you're just like, what is he doing? Like, I guess if you talked about how you could be miserable during the season, what did JR make you feel like when you were coaching him?
Well, I mean, practice and game time, it was awesome. Like going over like progress reports sometimes with the teachers wasn't like the most pleasant part of the day. But I'm going to say like JR was like awesome. I mean, because I was a young coach. Like I was, in my second year as a head coach, I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't even realize like his shot selection was that bad because I was so new to it. But he practiced so hard, his passion for basketball. Like he let me coach him. I coached him hard, although I gave him a lot of leeway offensively. He never cheated me one day in there, game night or practice. Like he just loved the game. He was great with the guys. Like leading up to the McDonald's game, right after the high school season was over, me and him met every morning at like 6 a.m., 6:30 to do skill work before school started, and at the end of the school day, we did live work like 1-on-1s to 5-on-5s. So like he, man, he was a worker, and like I loved I just loved coaching him.
All right, give me your conversations. Give me like an inside look into your conversations with Bobby. You talk to him how often? Every day? Almost?
I mean, it's probably every other day.
Every other day.
Now there was a time where it was definitely every day. It's probably every other day now. And it's just the weird thing about like the relationship with us goes, it seems like one of us is always trending up while the other one's going through like a little bit of a downward part of the year. So it's like, it's good in the sense that, there's at least somebody that could pick the other one up, because I can't imagine what it would be like if we were both Jeff. That could be.
I mean, you listen, I say it to people. You're two of the more sarcastic human beings on the planet, no doubt. And when things are bad, they're bad. I mean, they are. Let's face it. And I don't know if you got that from your dad or not. I don't know your dad like I know you guys, but I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you do it with do you try to keep him, like, he's struggling right now, no doubt. Like they just had games canceled for this weekend. They Remy Martin out. Your brother's definitely not in a good place right now. So how do you deal with that with him?
Yeah, I mean, we're modeling what we saw from our dad, like our dad, Bob Sr., I mean, he took his team and he took his players and he took, like winning, like so personal. Like you'd see him, like the rare occasion that he would lose, like my dad, like, he would like call in sick, like he couldn't function, like it was completely debilitating. And like, we model that, like our teams, our players, the success our program's having, it's so personal to us that, when we're losing, it's like, it's a real suffering. But most coaches, I mean, you get to this level as a coach, or anything, that feels like your purpose in life. When that's not going well, you're going to be miserable. And, winning gives you oxygen. Like losing in this as a head coach is unbearable because it's you. You feel like it's a reflection of you. It's different for an assistant coach. It's different for other people on your staff.
Coach, what was it like growing up with your brother? Were there pickup games that ended in tears, punches? I have a little brother, and it's a miracle we didn't go through the windows in our family room playing on the little tyke soup. It's a miracle. Was it like that with you guys?
Yeah, I mean, Bob fought with me, not with me. He fought with me or for me more than we fought against each other. I mean, if there weren't enough people around to compete against, then it inevitably would turn to us getting into an argument over a one-on-one game gone bad, or touch football on the street, and I called a weak pass interference call, or so, and then it would take a bad turn. Or we would play one-on-one with my dad, or stickball with my dad, and he was such a horrible loser that we would kind of combine forces against him. So, but Bob was a really good big brother. Bob was very protective. But we grew up in in a cauldron of intensity.
What's the last time? Like, I don't have a sibling, okay, only child, but like I know enough people that haven't talked to their sibling for a while. Have you had that with your brother, where like you guys have had these arguments drop down, like where you haven't talked for like weeks?
No, no, never. I mean, maybe a little. I think there were, at times when Bob's, when Bob got out of the NBA and he was in, he was involved with the horses, and I was coaching high school at St. Benedict's, where we probably didn't have that common thing. Basketball wasn't at that point as huge a part of his life. And, I had just gotten fired at Rutgers and now I'm at St. Ben's coaching. And, that was the greatest period probably in our relationship, of disconnect, but never like that.
Does he blame you when things are going bad for him? Does he blame you for getting him back in this industry?
No, he has not once. I mean, and Jeff, I'm going to thank him for that too today, for never blaming me when I talk to him. But no, he doesn't do it.
The time when I went to Wagner, and again had to take the subway, the car to drive to New York City, to take the subway, to take the damn ferry, to get off. You didn't even have a car waiting for me. I had to call a cab once I got there to get to the gym. Man, like I can't imagine you two like being a player. Seriously, a player having to be coached by both of you guys at Wagner or URI. Like, what do you think that was like?
Oh man. I'll take the first day on the job. It's like the press conference, like a Thursday, and it's just Bob's my first hire, and it's the next day we go into the office, and like the AD staring at us, and he's like, for like a half an hour, just like, what do you, like, kind of with a look of like, what are you guys doing? And then eventually he says like, where are you guys going today? So we'll probably grab lunch down the street and then work these guys out. And said, you guys know it's the recruiting period today, right? And we have no players. that was like day one. And then like, it was like a steel cage match, every day in there. When you take, and a lot of it was by design. Some of it was we were still learning like what to do. Like when you don't always know what to say or do as a coach, like the one thing that you could do is to create some passion and some energy and some intensity and get you guys to play really, really hard. So at least we knew that if we could create that type of atmosphere, that we'd at least be creating something. But, like, we didn't really have a great grasp on what to do, Jeff. So we yelled and we created chaos and competition like you wouldn't believe. It was incredible.
Coach, when I go back to Purdue and I watch a practice and I see Matt Painter kind of doing his thing, I always think like this dude has become so soft. Like he's way too nice to the players. If we were to ask your guys from like St. Benedict's or Wagner, or even Rhode Island, like would they be like, man, Coach Hurley has become soft?
You know what? I don't think so. Maybe a little bit from Wagner. Maybe like a little bit from Wagner. Because like I was really, really tough on that group, taking over 5-26 team. Like those guys, like they had just losing was in their bones at that point, and like the only way out was to learn how to fight again. So I would say if anywhere was Wagner, because and then again having Bob as my tag team partner, could only imagine what that was like. But yeah, no, I see what you said. My dad, I had the version I had of my dad as a coach, and then RJ Cole, who's my point guard right now, played for him, more towards the end of his career. I've yelled at him, in practice a couple times, like that. I wish that he had gotten my version. I wish you had, I wish you had the Bob Senior that I had. That's the one we need.
That's every former player. Everybody looks back at their old coach like, man, he was so much different when he coached us. I think that's like the dreaded former player's disease that we all have.
Yes, no doubt.
Dan, what's the ceiling on this team? If you stay healthy, if a Cook kind of gets back, and we know Book Knight will get back at some point here soon to himself, but what do you think the ceiling is for this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think we have, the makings of a really good team. I don't know that, like right now, I don't think we're at the level of Villanova or Creighton, or even, I think, Seton Hall right now. I think those are clearly the three best teams in the conference. I think we've got a chance to play our way into being able to compete at that level. I think this time period will book night out, as long as it's not long, as long as he comes back soon, because he's one of the best players in the country. This time will be really good for us because like we're building this identity of as an elite defensive team, and then these others that we need to develop into roles to support James, like a Tyrese Martin, like a Tyler Polley, Isaiah Whaley, RJ Cole, like these other guys, plus our bench. We've got a ton of depth. This time that James is out, I think is going to make us a lot stronger. And then when he comes back into the mix, I think we're a team that obviously is a March team and that could win a couple games in March.
Last one I have for you, Dan, is just take me through what it's like for you as a coach right now with the season. Like, I look at it and I'm excited watching games. Don't get me wrong. I'm excited, but it doesn't feel quite the same. I'm not going to UConn to watch games. I went to Mohegan Sun for like the first 4 days, and I haven't gone to a game since, and probably won't till we get to the NCAA tournament. Does it feel, I don't want to say normal, because we know it's not normal, but like, how does it feel to you as a coach? I guess is the best way to ask it.
The only part that feels normal for me is like obviously the practice time, shoot around day to game. Like the nerves of pregame meal when the ball goes up, game starts. Like that kind of feels normal. But like pulling up to the arena, just being on campus and like literally on your campus and like seeing nobody, like ever, and just kind of like seeing how everyone's wearing it, like there's a lot of people struggling, like you could see it and you could feel it in yourself because, obviously the COVID and the state of the country and just, like the state of all things, but like you could just see that everyone is a little bit kind of not themselves right now, whether it's like you're looking at players or the other staff when you see them quickly, or officials. It's like it's not the same thing, but it feels great to be able to do it, and everyone needs us to be able to do it, and because we're essential. Like this is I know people in Connecticut, they we've been hit pretty hard with COVID and on a number of levels, medically, economically. Like this is like an incredible shot in the arm for the people of the state. What the team's doing, how the program's grown, and the fact that we're just out there playing is doing a lot of good for a lot of people. So
you mentioned officials, and I'll let you go after this one, I promise. So with no fans in attendance, are you more mellow with the officials now, or like have you changed? Because they can hear everything anyway. No fans, so you don't have to worry about a fan hearing. You might actually, I don't want to, tell anybody, but you do use some bad words at times.
Sometimes.
So there's no fans to hear that. That's the positive. There's also no fans to drown out some of your bad words.
Yes. And not really. I have not. So, I think in Wisconsin, they that one timeout was pretty explosive, and there was no one in there. I'm pretty sure everyone heard that, and that was a bad timeout. But that wasn't at the refs; that was at the team. I think I've only been bad with the referees just a one game USC game at Mohegan. I was really bad. I was probably a little bit over the top, but if you really look at it, I'm through 8 games, no technicals and no bench warnings.
Your brother. Are we saying this right now? You are better
this year
than your brother this year.
This year,
yes.
I don't think that I've gotten enough credit for, and I'm not really looking for it. I don't really give a shit what people think, but the refs, like I've been, I think, great with those guys, and very fair, and so no bench warnings, no technicals.
Coach, I want to ask you. Oh, sorry, Joe.
Go ahead, Rob.
I want to ask you this. So, in my pro career, college career, high school career, I got one tech in Russia, but now I play 3-on-3 basketball now. It's an Olympic sport. I think I've gotten at least 15 technical fouls in 2 summers of play.
Really?
Because the refs are horrible. And when I get these techs, I have these like moral hangovers after that. Like afterwards, I really beat myself. Like my girlfriend went on this trip to Italy where we were playing, and she was literally like, "You are a psychopath. You just cussed out that 18-year-old kid who's reffing your game, and you literally embarrassed him in front of all these people." Do you get like moral hangovers like I do, or is that just like something that I'm crazy and I get
The
that
Hurley.
Um, no, I don't personally. I have
I love it.
no remorse. I have no remorse. Now, the one time at Rhode Island, there was a game against, I think, St. Joe's where I got teed and close to thrown out, and the camera stayed on me pretty deep because the producer knew that was compelling television. So when I got home, my wife, Andrea, she had an intervention with the kids, and like, you're embarrassing us now. Like, this is bad.
I heard
Now
about
that goes out. Yeah, you heard about that, right, Jeff? Now that goes out the window though when the games start, because the last thing I'm thinking about is the intervention when these games start. But that was a moment, and I think too, like, in all fairness, like, you get more experience as a coach. Maybe you yell a little bit less, but when you take over a really bad team that thinks losing is the thing to do, you got to teach them. Like, somebody's got to set the tone for how hard you have to fight to win. And I think just kind of the secret sauce in like rebuilding a program is like those first 2 years when you've got to flip that losing stuff, is like, you've got to fight with everybody every day to show your team, like,
you care.
yeah, and just that passion gets sucked out of the program. The fight just gets drained, and you've got to instill that. And when you're left with players that have forgotten how to do that or never were taught how to do that, that's why in the first year or two of these things, these kind of rebuilds, you look maniacal, and you look like you're coming unglued, but you're really just trying to instill that mentality and mindset. And now I've got a better team, so I'm not a raving madman right now.
Not as much. Not like your brother
Not
is.
as much. No.
Well, listen,
No.
we appreciate you coming on. Do me a favor, tell your better half, much better half, I said hello. And hopefully I'll see. I don't even know if they allow media. I don't think it matters. I don't see myself going to a game this year, which is kind of nuts. I was thinking of maybe going to your Villanova game, but now that's canceled. Yeah. So I don't have to make that decision. But thanks for coming on. We appreciate it. 3-game winning streak, all on the road. It's impressive. Yeah. And hopefully we'll maybe see you in Indiana in a few months.
I appreciate it, fellas. It's fun talking ball.
You got it. Take care, man.